Some stars shine early. Some rise before the world expects them to. Young, gifted, legendary. These black stars built powerful legacies before they even turned 30. One Mahershala Ali in his 20s, he was studying acting with quiet discipline. Before 30, he had already built a foundation of powerful performances, calm presence, deep intensity, unshakable focus. In 2026, Mahershala Ali is 52 years old and a two-time Academy Award winner. Doja Cat in her early 20s, she was experimenting with sound and building her own lane online. Before 30, she had already become a global chart-topping artist. Bold, creative, unpredictable. In 2026, Doja Cat is 31 years old and still redefining pop culture. 3. Kevin Durant at just 19, he entered the NBA with unstoppable talent. Before 30, he had already won championships and MVP honors. Focused, precise, dominant. In 2026, Kevin Durant is 37 years old and still among basketball's elite. For Zendaya, as a teenager, she stepped into television with natural confidence. Before 30, she had already won major awards and global recognition. Graceful, fearless, influential. In 2026, Zendaya is 29 years old and one of Hollywood's brightest stars. 5. Childish Gambino in his 20s, he balanced writing, acting, and music with rare creativity. Before 30, he had already reshaped modern hip-hop and television. Visionary, layered, fearless. In 2026, Childish Gambino is 42 years old and remains a cultural force. 6. Simone Biles as a teenager, she was already flipping into history books. Before 30, she had collected multiple Olympic gold medals. Focused, fearless, unmatched. In 2026, Simone Biles is 29 years old and the most decorated gymnast in history. 7. Travis Scott in his early 20s, he was crafting a sound that felt atmospheric and different. Before 30, he had already built a global fan movement. Energetic, innovative, unpredictable. In 2026, Travis Scott is 35 years old and still shaping modern hip-hop. 8. Issa Rae in her 20s, she was creating stories that felt real and relatable. Before 30, she had already launched a cultural television movement. Smart, authentic, groundbreaking. In 2026, Issa Rae is 41 years old and continues to redefine storytelling. 9. Stephen Curry at just 21, his shooting range was already changing basketball. Before 30, he had already won championships and MVP awards. Precise, relentless, revolutionary. In 2026, Stephen Curry is 38 years old and still redefining the game. 10. Chloe Bailey as a teenager, she stepped into the spotlight with powerful vocals. Before 30, she had already built a bold solo identity. Confident, fearless, dynamic. In 2026, Chloe Bailey is 28 years old and continuing to rise in music and film. 11. Janelle Monáe in her 20s, she blended soul, funk, and futuristic style. Before 30, she had already built a fearless artistic identity, creative, visionary, unapologetic. In 2026, Janelle Monáe is 40 years old and continues to shape culture. 12. John Boyega in his early 20s, he stepped into a galaxy far, far away. Before 30, he had already become a global blockbuster star. Bold, focused, fearless. In 2026, John Boyega is 34 years old and still rising in Hollywood. 13. Megan Rapinoe in her 20s, she was already leading with skill and confidence. Before 30, she had won championships and inspired millions. Fearless voice, relentless drive. In 2026, Megan Rapinoe is 41 years old and remains influential on and off the field. 14. Burna Boy in his early 20s, he was building a sound that blended Africa with the world. Before 30, he had already won global recognition and awards. Energetic, proud, boundary-breaking. In 2026, Burna Boy is 35 years old and still dominating international stages. 15. Storm Reid. As a teenager, she stepped into major films with confidence beyond her years. Before 30, she had already earned critical acclaim. Focused, graceful, promising. In 2026, Storm Reid is 23 years old and continues to rise in Hollywood. 16. AAP Rocky. In his early 20s, he introduced a style that blended fashion and hip-hop. Before 30, he had already built a global influence beyond music. Confident, stylish, innovative. In 2026, AAP Rocky is 38 years old and still shaping culture. 17. Coco Gauff. As a teenager, she shocked the tennis world with fearless performances. Before 30, she had already claimed major championship victories. Focused, poised, determined. In 2026, Coco Gauff is 22 years old and continues to rise in global tennis. 18. Daniel Kaluuya. In his 20s, he delivered performances that demanded attention. Before 30, he had already become a critically acclaimed actor. Intense, layered, magnetic. In 2026, Daniel Kaluuya is 37 years old and remains one of Hollywood's finest talents. 19. Saweetie. In her early 20s, she built momentum through confidence and charisma. Before 30, she had already turned viral success into mainstream recognition. Bold, stylish, driven. In 2026, Saweetie is 33 years old and still active in music and media. 20. Jonathan Majors. In his 20s, he brought depth to every role he played. Before 30, he had already built a reputation for powerful performances. Focused, compelling, driven. In 2026, Jonathan Majors is 36 years old and remains a recognizable name in film. 21. Her. As a teenager, she stepped into music with quiet confidence. Before 30, she had already won multiple Grammy Awards. Soulful, skilled, timeless. In 2026, Her is 29 years old and continues to shape modern R&B. 22. Giannis Antetokounmpo. In his early 20s, he was transforming into a dominant force in the NBA. Before 30, he had already won championships and MVP awards. Powerful, relentless, historic. In 2026, Giannis Antetokounmpo is 31 years old and still among basketball's elite. 23. Letitia Wright. In her 20s, she delivered performances that demanded global attention. Before 30, she had already become a key figure in blockbuster cinema. Bright, confident, inspiring. In 2026, Letitia Wright is 33 years old and continues to rise in Hollywood. 24. Roddy Ricch. In his early 20s, he built a sound that quickly dominated charts. Before 30, he had already earned major industry awards. Focused, melodic, driven. In 2026, Roddy Ricch is 28 years old and still active in music. 25. Marsai Martin. As a teenager, she stepped into television with confidence and charm. Before 30, she had already become one of the youngest executive producers in Hollywood. Smart, ambitious, trailblazing. In 2026, Marsai Martin is 22 years old and continues to inspire a new generation.